Hello.
Okay, looks like we're live. Let's just give people a little bit more time to connect and see that we're here live. So, hi Maya, very good to see you, and thank you for being here today.
Hi, Ksenia. Really lovely to see you. Looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah, me too. So let's see if there's some people joining, and if those who see us. Wait.
Maya. Very
Okay. To see you. Excuse me, I need to fix my.
Hi, Ksenia. Yeah.
Okay. Tech problems. Okay, and my phone, the sound was on, so I'm gonna turn it off. So, do we have some people in the audience who can tell us if you can hear us? Okay, if you can see us.
Oh, Christoph is. Hello, Christoph.
Hi, Christoph. That's my husband. Can you hear us? Can you please confirm that you can hear us and see us? And then we're going to be good to go and see who is joining us. And by the way, if you're joining us now, please do share with us where you are connecting from, your city, your state, and if you're in the US, your country, if you're in Europe. And yes, good morning to those on the East Coast, and good afternoon to those in Europe. Very excited to be here and to have you guys with us. Okay, let's see. Can we actually see how many people? 7 people watching us already. Okay, so sounds like we're good to start. So the first question we actually have for you guys, and again, welcome to this live from employee to entrepreneur. Find out if now is your moment. And before we introduce yourselves, in order to start the conversation in the chat, we have this first question for you, which is a very typical coaching question. On a scale from 1 to 10, 1 being not at all and 10 being the max, how ready do you feel right now to become an entrepreneur and start your own business? So if you can just share your number in the chat with us to get this conversation going. And while you do, well, let me first of all introduce ourselves. So my name is Votinova-Arnaud. I am a serial tech entrepreneur and a business coach based out of Paris, France. And I work with executive women in tech who are interested in starting their own business in tech or in software, either as their side business on top of the corporate job, or going full into full-time entrepreneurship, as you know, is what I do and what I've done. And I have Maya here with me, who is another coach, and I'm gonna let her introduce herself. And just before she does, I wanted to share while we're doing this live together. Actually, Maya and I are both INSEAD MBAs. So INSEAD is a business school, one of the top business schools in the world, which has campuses in France and Singapore, and now also Abu Dhabi and San Francisco. And actually, Maya and I, we did MBA there at the same time. We were not in the same class, not in the same promotion. So we actually did not meet each other while we were doing our MBAs, because the interesting thing about INSEAD is that she can do exactly the same MBA program, but on 2 campuses at the same time in parallel, either in France or in Singapore. And the curriculum is exactly the same, and you can go to the other campus every 3 months and decide how you structure your journey. And we were actually on the opposite campuses the whole time, as we discovered with Maya when we had a conversation later. So she was in Singapore when I was in France, and vice versa. So it's very funny that we actually have this connection, but we never met when we were at INSEAD. But we did figure out that we actually met on some of the INSEAD events here in Paris. from the alumni community. And then we're really connected through the power of LinkedIn, of actually just reaching out to each other and noticing the work that we're doing, which is very similar mission of empowering executives on their journey of transition. For me, more into entrepreneurship, and for Maya more into the executive leadership positions. So Maya, tell us a little bit more about you.
Yes, I will. And I just want to mention, when I saw you on LinkedIn, and then we spoke, and I said, I'm pretty sure I know you from somewhere. I'm pretty sure we already met. And we did. We met 7 years ago, maybe 8 years ago. And I remember you from this networking event, because there's so little females in tech, that when you said to me, I'm the founder of my own VPN company, I was so interested. I was listening. So that's how I remember you. and here we are. So I spent also 15 years in tech industry, in different companies, the bigger and the smaller, and I got involved in startup too while I was there. And a few years ago, I founded my own coaching practice. So today I help executives and founders of technology companies to develop their leadership and team leadership, more specifically. So it's all about how to be the first, confident in navigating the unknown, how to build teams, basically how to be the boss everyone wants to work for, which is a big challenge today. So my work is transformational in nature, and it expands your current mental capacity to build a better self-understanding, relational intelligence, and building these committed and loyal teams that everyone needs in order to build the impact they want to create. And that's it, really. My work is based on neuroscience, coaching tools, and some operating principles that created the most successful tech companies right now. Not necessarily the biggest one, but the ones you know, the ones you use. And I have some behind-the-scenes insights on how it's been created. So over to you, Ksenia. Tell me a little bit more about your experience before being a coach.
Sure. Well, maybe let me just share why we picked this topic for discussion, right? So we met with Maya over LinkedIn, and then we kind of exchanged in terms of what she is doing, what I'm doing, working with executives. And then we realized that there's just like this one common theme that always comes up is about, like, am I really ready? Am I ready for this transition? Am I ready to start my own business? Am I ready to do this new jump, to this new step in my growth? And that this question comes a lot. And we thought, wow, this could be a very interesting topic for conversation, because we just had this conversation, just the two of us tete-a-tete, but we thought it could be interesting to take it public. And so what we would like to address today in this short live, and we promise not going to keep you too long, is basically 3 points. The first one is, how do you know when you're ready? Secondly is, how do you actually build that self-confidence and address the potential self-doubt that you can have to actually take that step to move in the direction where you want to go? And then lastly, we want to discuss, like, how important it is to have a plan or not to have a plan, and which strategy could be the best for you. So these are the 3 topics we want to cover today. And please do let us know in the chat if you have any questions or if you have things to contribute to the conversation. We would like to take them. We would love to see them and address them as we go. So please do share with us. And so let's maybe get started on the first topic. And I'm going to share exactly, if you ask your question, Maya, about what I did before coaching, and I'll share a little bit about my VPN business that I'm happy to hear impressed you during one of the live events in Paris. It's true, there are not a lot of women in the VPN industry. So how do you know if you're ready. So in my personal experience as an entrepreneur, and I started my first company, Le VPN, over 12 years ago now, is I believe you're never going to feel that you're 100% ready. There's always going to be a part of you that will say, I could get a bit more knowledge, I need a bit more experience, I need a bit more time. Maybe it's not the right time. There's always going to be reasons for you to feel like you're not ready. But the thing is, when you feel 100% ready, you're probably already too late. You're probably already over matured over that idea. It's like, yeah, it always needs to be, to me, there's always needs to be a potential for having the learning opportunity, something that it still feels challenging for you, but doable. So if I give you an example of how I co-founded the VPN, so the VPN company, which is app software for B2C that you can find in the Apple Store, Google Play, etc., is my business partner came to me and found me with his idea and said, I've been testing this thing in a very prototype version for over a year on the French market in Paris. A very simple app built on a product that already exists, open source software that anybody can use. And he's a tech guy, so he just managed to create that network, and he just posted it on some forums for geek people, for IT guys who know what it is, who need it, and it got a lot of demand. So he came to me and he said, I feel like the idea is validated, and this is something that we can build in an actual business. And at the time when he came to me, I was actually living in Bali, and running a luxury villas company out of Bali, and doing their turnaround to get more villas rented. And these were 5-star villas with 10 people staff in the villas, rented to very high net worth individuals. And I was like, well, right now I'm doing marketing and business development for luxury villas. There's probably not a lot of difference between marketing villas and marketing a VPN service. And if I don't have the answers, I can probably figure it out. And this is how I started. It was a big stretch going from what I've been doing until then to actually building a business and taking it internationally. We made the app available right away in 5 languages, in a lot of geographies. We went straight for locations in 110 countries. We registered our headquarters in Hong Kong. So we really went full in. Was I ready? Absolutely not. And I made a lot of mistakes along the way, but I learned so much from that experience.
But you said something here that's key, pivotal for all people making that jump. And you said that one sentence. I wonder if anyone else on the live heard it. I heard it loud and clear.
What was it?
I thought I probably will figure this out. So this is the key sentence that makes, this is the breakthrough that I see. And this is what it's good to strive for, getting to that point. And you might be thinking, I might be able to figure this out. And well, no, actually, no, because we're talking about maybe finance industry, maybe we're talking about some other. There's the second breed of entrepreneurs. I'm pretty sure I can find someone who can figure this out.
Exactly.
So this is really pivot. But let me tell you this really funny story about something maybe people find relatable. I was asking myself, how am I ready to have a baby? So it's a big commitment, right? Everyone can admit this is a really big commitment. When is the right time? Should I do it? Should I need more time? Should I need, have more money? Should I have my career in the right place, right? And I started asking around. Obviously, it's not a question you want to ask your family. Same for the business plans. I started asking around my friends, my close friends. And one of my close friends told me, "You're never ready. It's never the right time." So what did you hear when you hear this? It's never the right time. So I heard, "You're never ready. Any time is good." This is what I heard. What she meant, it's what she actually meant is it's not the right time. It's never right time. She decided not to have one. And we both made a commitment. This is how my family started. It was not the right time. Because when you commit to something, you will make it work. Keyword here is the commitment.
Right.
So how did you struggle with that commitment? How did that went for you?
Yeah. Well, actually, what I decided at the time is that I give it a year. So my commitment was 1 year to see if I can create value in this business, like if I am good at it, if the business is working, if I feel happy for it. So I had like different assumptions that I wanted to test in that year. In terms of like, can I be an entrepreneur? Is this for me? Is this business working? Am I can really build this business or not? And that's also what I told my co-founder. I told him my commitment is 1 year right now, and then we'll evaluate what happens next. And then for 1 year, I just went full in, and it worked. And it worked. And now this, so the birthday, we just celebrated 14 years birthday for the VPN brand. And since then it's been growing. Steadily over the years. It's been a profitable business from day one. Although we did not pay ourselves for the first few years because we were reinvesting all the growth money into the business itself. But now it just became such a stable and predictable, profitable business that I have the freedom and the flexibility to do other things. And I started enjoying doing business coaching and helping other people build similar businesses. And the fact that my business is now, the VPN company is now solid, and a lot of it is automated, and we have the team who can take things over, allowed me to explore other passions and other projects and start building other businesses.
Yeah, well, that sounds good. 14 years. So I'm part of this Cartier Women's Initiatives program, and there's one statistic they shared a couple of years ago. 80% of businesses founded in that program. Almost 14 years later, similar to you, where 80% were still in operation. And that literally makes me wonder how much we love to talk about risks and, scaring each other, and how much truth is there really in the statistics. Plus, I also wanted to reflect on what you said about I gave myself a year. So very often, the willingness to commitment and decision frameworks are a big part of what my clients are interested in. And the commitment is often misunderstood because it's like all in forever. And we tend to forget, like, no, we can actually give ourselves so to you, it came unnaturally, maybe, I don't know, it's a very reasonable way to approach this. For people who tend to be a little bit more like in the waiting mode, it's just a reminder, you don't need to, when we talk about commitment, it doesn't mean forever, and you will forever be committed, married to that idea. So that's a really a good way to bring up this commitment, willingness to commit. And then you mentioned a part of resources. So we haven't paid ourselves for a year. So that's just one way of finding a resource. And this is a big question. And I saw some questions in the chat about this. We'll try to answer them. It's just one of the many resources. And it's all about looking what you have at your disposal. And we'll come back to it a little bit later. But I wanted to share with you a story of how I was practicing this willingness to commit, because I did have commitment of some sort, I would say. If you look at my profile, I was looking for this golden position for the golden industry, for surfing the good industry wave. So I did a lot of changes over time. That was this optimizer. And when I joined INSEAD program, I really wanted to learn something that's a little bit more hands-on and not just sitting in a class and participating in a curriculum. So I said to myself, what could I do? So if this is a leadership development in the context of business, how can I practice leadership in the school? And there was this clubs, remember? And yeah, so I said to myself, okay, so I didn't want to commit to any particular topic, but I said to myself, how about just basketball? So I'm tall. I'm not necessarily good at basketball at all. I played a little bit, but not too much. And I said to myself, well, if leadership is about commitment to show up, I'm just going to try again for this year, for this 10 months, to just show up. And every single week, I was there on the court in Singapore, 28 degrees in the evening, and we were playing. And over time, I actually found my co-founder of that club, and he was much better at playing. It was a mixed team. And my commitment was really, no matter how many people will be on that basketball court, I will be there. And I was really proud of this. This is how, for the first time, how commitment felt for me. It felt good. And we developed a really good team over time, because I was not so good at basketball. We had people coming that were really good, and they were playing really well. And they actually acted as coaches for that whole team. Fast forward to the end of the story, we did participate in some tournaments in NBA, and we had first place. And I have pictures to prove it. And it wasn't about playing in order to win the tournament. It was literally just the commitment to show up and creating that atmosphere. So this is the example that I like to use in order to highlight the difference between commitment and attachment. So once you grasp that difference, commitment and attachment to the end result, and once you master detachment, which many people think that if I'm detached from the result, I will not achieve anything. That's the real feel. Once you master that difference, you'll see how things play out completely differently. So
I think we need to wrap up this point, but I think it's a good way to wrap up. How do you actually know if now is your moment? How do you make this decision if that's the good time? And I think, what you mentioned earlier from your story, you are the one who decides if you're ready or if you go for it despite being maybe not ready or not. So if you take that commitment to test and learn and see what happens or not, and actually both answers are right. You could be ready if you decide so, and you could be not ready if you decide you're not ready. So it's really up to you to make that choice.
Yeah, and I think we need this reminder that we do have a say in our own decisions. We do have a say in them, and we tend to forget that we do. We give this power over to external circumstances, and some people need a reminder, and some people need to actually learn it from scratch. But it's good once you do.
Right. So how do we imagine we decided to take that commitment and go all in for building that business, becoming an entrepreneur, or taking that leadership role to which maybe we're not feel extremely ready yet? So how do we build that self-confidence, and how do we address that voice in our head that may be bringing that self-doubt and telling us things that we don't want to hear, which is not necessarily empowering? I know that you wanted to share a story and some tools of how you deal with that.
Yes, I mean, with pleasure. So with my clients, I build a series of tools that are based on the tools I mentioned in the beginning. And I have one thing that I can share with you if you want after this live. It's developing entrepreneurial mindset. So you don't even need to be a founder to benefit from the entrepreneurial mindset. And it's all about unlearning corporate habits. So it's fun. It's a really fun document that I put together for my clients to actually, you can, if you're curious to see what you need to unlearn and how far or close you are to having that mindset, you can read it and you can have a look and check for yourself.
Yeah, maybe you can get the link in the chat of this event so that people.
I don't have the link ready, but I'll make sure, if you highlight your register interest, it's it's a very short distance for me to send it to you. And then other things I have is making friends with uncertainty, which I love a lot. So we do with my clients, make friends with uncertainty, and we are building unshakable self-confidence. So it's a work that produces real results. And few clients of mine went from, oh my God, I absolutely need to have that second, like the next job, from I'm in my entrepreneurial journey, and the job offers came up in the meantime, and they actually turned down these job offers. So going from I think I'm gonna give up, I'm gonna sell my business, into doubling down on and having actual investor commitments during the fundraising journey. So these programs produces these kinds of mindset shifts and these kinds of results. There is resilience and self-confidence that I built by using so many different tools, but one I want to mention here is the OODA loop technique. So this comes from the fighter pilot survival tactic, and it's all about observe, orient, decide, and act. And the faster that you can actually operate in this loop, the bigger chances for survival when you are a fighter pilot, and the biggest chances for success. And you know a little bit about this because you have some resources that you give to your clients, right?
Yeah. Well, so exactly, working with women entrepreneurs and also with working with a lot of executives through the work that I do for INSEAD Business School, where I'm a business coach as well in executive programs. I noticed that when you dig in deeper with a client to try to understand the reasons for different decisions, there's the biggest blocker that comes up always is the self-confidence. There's always a part of us that feels not ready, not confident, doubting our skills, doubting our decisions. And when I dig into the stats, I saw that there was a KPMG study actually that said that 75% of female executives across all industries confirmed that they experience an imposter syndrome at least once in their careers, which imposter syndrome is, the syndrome of feeling like if you don't belong, that you are taking somebody else's place.
We mentioned women. Actually, majority of my clients are men. Same.
Yeah. Well, I work with a lot of men as well, right? Especially at INSEAD. And there's no difference whether you're a man and a woman. Imposter syndrome is real. So the tool that I like to use is, I've actually shared it before with my clients and my audience, is something I learned during my my life in Bali, when I was working in Bali and I was working with a coach there. And the tool was about really isolating this imposter syndrome as a different persona, or like a part of you that is a different personality. And the way you do that is you try to visualize it in your head. Like when you hear that nagging voice telling you something like, oh, Ksenia, you're probably not prepared for this life today because your voice is breaking down. You're still sick from your flu. You should not do it. So I hear that voice and then I know, okay, so that is Barbara. I called her. So I give her a name. This is my Barbara talking, who wants to give her opinion, to give her 5 cents on the situation. Well, I'm not going to listen to Barbara. And I'm just tell her quietly in my mind, thank you so much for this contribution. Go back and sit in your corner. I'm in charge. So the tool was that, imagine this imposter syndrome as a person living inside your head. Give it a name. Visualize it if you have to. Like my barber has like a long nose and things like that. So I know exactly how she looks like. And when you hear that voice, attribute it to that persona that you created, and then talk to it as a human being in your head, obviously. Don't be weird, don't talk to your persona during a client meeting and tell her like, well, thank you so much, but I'm in charge. Thank you for your contribution, but I prefer to have a different narrative. So this is the tool I've been using for over a decade now, and that I also teach to my clients. And it seems to be working really well because it helps you to really detach from that voice, detach from imposter syndrome, from that doubting beliefs and ideas, and reframe the narrative into something more empowering, which will be more helpful to you in that specific moment.
That sounds good. And what sounds good for me is that you can literally have some fun with it. So it doesn't need to feel like the end of the world, or like you can reduce your anxiety by doing this. So that sounds really, really good. I like the anxiety part, mostly because when you reduce anxiety in your system, you actually open up access in part of the brain that's responsible for creativity, for resourcefulness. And you literally have better access to problem solving. So a lot of people are criticizing of being positive, and sometimes they even think it's fake, etc. Some people who are purposely positive like this, either quieting some voices or like actively developing access to that part of the brain, they're actually doing better in business because have these resources that are otherwise not accessible to you. The barber is shouting and you cannot hear that wisdom voice in your head. That's right.
Yeah. And in our working with executives, very often they find this visualization techniques very weird and very strange at first, because they do sound strange. But the thing is, like, these are proven coaching NLP techniques that actually work and that actually help you to reframe the narrative, as you said, lower your anxiety level and really take charge of the situation and build that confidence that you need either in this specific situation or that could be challenging for you, that where you're struggling, or in general when you're building something new, when you're transitioning to something new. You need that. Obviously you need a support system of people who can support you as you're going through that transition, but you also need to be able to support yourself, and that can come from within yourself, from your own confidence that you're building day by day, just taking small steps and moving into the right direction.
Yes, but I wanted to add that right now, this time of the state of technology, the state, like the access to the information that we have, the access to people, it's amazing. I mean, I feel like it's a completely different era that we're in right now in comparison to what was 10 years ago. So
yeah,
that should also add to this confidence building, I guess. I mean, I can see it. I can see. I saw how technology changed from 2004 into now, so over 20 years now. It's like uncomparable, So it's accessible. It's more accessible now than ever. That's for sure.
Well, it definitely became much easier to build your business, especially if that's a digital online or some kind of a tech business, than it used to be. And even if I look back at my journey building the VPN, I just realized how much easier it became now. Like if I was launching my company now versus a decade ago, like we would be going so much faster today than all the things and all the tech issues we had to figure out back then. Even like building a website was complicated. Now you just like do it in 5 seconds.
Absolutely, or even like hiring and managing talent from like across continents. I remember I was managing this software developer in Thailand. Like there was like no video conferencing. I mean, right now it's completely different. Exactly. So it's worth considering, especially for those who still think that we're back at that time. It's no longer the case. So what would you like to move on to the questions, or would you like to talk about?
Yeah, the thing is,
the
like,
need,
I don't
the need to
feel
have
like
a
I
social.
see any questions. Can you see questions in the chat? Because
I actually marked some of the questions
the
here.
that was the same for me in the previous life. I just could not see any questions. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I just see the comments. Do you see any interesting questions we need to take?
So let me see. This was not a question. That was comment.
So before
Here.
while you're looking for the question, maybe let me just start that transition into the last point that we wanted to address in the slide. And I know that we're already 35 minutes in, so we're going to start wrapping it up. It was about, okay, you decide that you go all in, you're building your business or transitioning into a new role, that, okay, now is your moment, you commit to it, and you have the tools to build that confidence step by step in order to stick to your plan. Now, do you actually need a plan? Like, I'm talking to a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs and business owners, always talking about like the strategy and the business model. But like, how important is it to have a very well planned out and detailed strategy and business model when you start your own business, when you're becoming an entrepreneur or not? So in my opinion, and in my experience of working with over 1,000 people by now, launching new businesses, new projects is something I bring from the agile thinking, from design thinking, and all this lean startup ideology. Is you need to stay agile. You cannot know, especially in the time we live in now, with all the technological changes that are happening, with all the market changes that are happening, you cannot know for a fact what is the best way to run your business. You cannot create a 1-year plan, a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan. It's no longer possible. What is important, though, is to understand the direction where you're going. So what is your goal? What is it that you're trying to achieve? Like, what problem do you want to solve for your customers? What are your SMART goals? Like, what are some specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely goals in a very timely time frame that she can target? And then once you have that sense of direction, then you can create the plan step by step. Although this plan, the way it looks today, we're probably not going to look the same way tomorrow, because as you go through it, you're going to get some new insights, and you're going to learn some things from your customers, from testing your product, from talking to people, from seeing how the market reacts to it, that you will want to pivot, iterate, make some changes, make some adjustments. The new technology may come in, and you may realize that you have to jump on that, and that will change your strategy a little bit. But as long as you're still going for the key goal that you decided for yourself, and I believe you should have at least like one goal per year, like for 1 year you really stick of hitting that target and putting all your efforts into that before you completely change the whole thing. So as long as you're sticking to that long-term goal, long-term being 1 year, you can iterate as much as you want, to take as many steps right and left, and just figure out the agile way, which in my experience is really the best way to move forward
At this stage when things are uncertain. Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. So be committed but flexible on the details.
Exactly. And also the time frame of how far away you put yourself to goals is becoming shorter and shorter, because things are changing so fast. So you need to give yourself that freedom and that flexibility to adapt with the market changes and the technology changes.
Absolutely. So this is a question that actually links to this point from Ashish. So Ashish, that you're like edtech industry, among other things that you been doing. I can't see your title full, but maybe there's a fintech in there too. So it says, given the current startup landscape, where many firms raise significant capital but are later sold for similar or lesser amounts, and considering that founders often don't secure substantial personal financial gains unless they negotiate high salaries or secondary salaries, does it still make sense for someone to leave a stable, well paying job to pursue the entrepreneurial grind? So that's the first question. And this is a really good question. My immediate answer is yes. Yes, it does. Even if you're not gaining as much money in your first round or as a founder, you are receiving more than just equity. You are building your social capital. You are building leadership skills. The doors that you open after having an exit, no matter how successful, are not the same doors that would open if you just stayed in a role. And I think this is the biggest myth that somehow persists out there of this career ladder, and is that like the most guaranteed. Talk to anyone. How many people wanted to be promoted and they're not, and how many people thought they are well paid and they got laid off. And like I would ask myself, it's for obviously different for different people. I'm not saying this. If you have an entrepreneurial spirit, it will still make sense for you to turn down the well-paid job because it might not be as safe as you think it is.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that because especially now in the tech industry, there's so many lays offs are happening that entrepreneurship is becoming safer than staying in the corporate job. But I work with a lot of executive women who are in very ambitious roles, like very high up in their careers, and the question comes a lot, like, do I really sacrifice, like, can I leave my career for the uncertainty of building something on my own if I have no guarantees if whether that's going to work? And the best advice I have for them, and I'm giving them all the time, is it doesn't have to be a black and white. Like, you don't have to leave your job to go full into entrepreneurship. You can start in the parallel, and that's what I advise them to do. And before you actually make this commitment to go full into your business, it's actually going to be a smart idea to be able to validate if that's a good business to go in. And the way you do that is by figuring out if you really nail down the right problem to solve with your business. Is it focusing a specific pain point, a problem your potential customers have that needs to be addressed, and if they're willing to pay for that solution? So that's why when I started working with entrepreneurs and business founders, the very first thing that they all have to do working with me is do the customer interviews, to actually go out there and speak to their potential customers and get those insights in order to understand, does that problem actually exist? So I've been doing it for so long and with so many people that at the end I even created this guide that I'm happy to share with all of you, and I'm going to put the link in the comments of how do you actually run those customers interviews, how do you actually validate that business idea before you take the commitment to go all in and start your business. And maybe what I see my clients do sometimes, they just start working 80% of the time versus 100%. They take one day off to work on the business, and then just like slowly, shifting the hours more towards developing their own business, and then, quitting their career and transitioning into full-time entrepreneurship. But in order to do that, obviously you need time to invest to do those customer interviews, but you also need to build that reassurance and confidence that this is the right business to be in, because the
this is also
competition
how you can, this is how you can evaluate financial gains, like financial upside, right? If you have
well,
data before you actually make commitments, you can actually compare it to your salary. Because Ashish, like, I can't see where he's based, but from what he says, it sounds like he might be in the US, because in Europe it's the big fundraising rounds don't happen, and we don't have such a high salaries neither. But this is how you can literally make this calculation to see if 1% of that, converts, what's my upside, and then obviously there's a advisory that would be worth reaching, like having and seeking about how to manage this relationship with investors, and how to negotiate with it. How there's a lot of wisdom in there. But I think my point is, when you go farther, when the most people go, you tend to learn more, and you tend to have more knowledge in comparison to the rest of the people. So the knowledge and learning, it's so invaluable right now, that in itself will create you the next opportunity. If you think strategically, that will give you access to opportunities that otherwise you wouldn't have. So I'm convinced in it. I've seen it over and over and over again. So that's one question. I don't see other questions in here, but if anyone else have a question, now is the time, because we're going to be slowly wrapping up.
I'm not sure we can actually see the questions properly.
Maybe we not. Yeah, I can see some here in the application.
Yeah, but I promise we're gonna address them all in the comments later if we missed some of the questions. And so, well, let's wrap this up maybe with some final thoughts. And I hope that this conversation was useful to you, and now you know how to address this question of whether now is your moment, or whether 2025 is going to be your moment to start.
Can you create your moment?
Yes, can you create your moment? So on my side, the final message that I want to leave you with is that you can absolutely do it, and all the resources that you need in order to succeed are already within you. You already have the knowledge, the experience, the drive, the energy, the commitment, and what it takes to start your own business if you decide so. And if there are some gaps, as we mentioned earlier, just find people who can help you who can answer those questions, who can help you solve that problem, who have that knowledge that can fill that gap. And it doesn't necessarily need to be paid consulting or paid coaching. It can be community of entrepreneurs. This could be mentors that will be, willing to help you absolutely for free because they believe in your idea. So you already have the resources within you, and you already have plenty of resources outside of you if you are being proactive and creative to find them. So I absolutely believe that now is the moment.
Yeah, I do believe this. I do believe this too. And there are so many underestimated resources. For example, knowing your buyer's avatar. So working in your current company, that could be your future business's client. You already know a lot of things, and we tend to underestimate that particular knowledge and experience that we have. And there's many, many more. So the more you talk to people you don't know and you haven't met and you don't usually work with, the more you will discover how much you actually have already as resources that are close to you. So I'm very excited about this. And as on an ending note, I wanted to invite you to register your interest with a couple of programs that I'm planning on running, one in January for career changers. So it's a self-exploratory 100 days. So before you commit and create a plan or a willingness to commit, you can explore a little bit and understand a little bit more of what feels right for you as a direction to take. So just register an interest with me. You can send me a quick message and I'll send you the details about this. So we're going to start mid-January next year. And then there's a second program that I'm starting in February, next edition of 90-day money game that I absolutely love. And it's for entrepreneurs who are fundraising. And you're going to learn how to develop relationship with investors, and you're going to have a mutual support of each other. And you're going to learn so much more about fundraising process during that 90 days. The only requirements is for you to commit to the 100 or 90 days.
Sounds amazing. Thank you for sharing, Maya. And so the way they can find you is on LinkedIn, Maya Caplete, right?
Yes.
Okay. And feel free to connect with us. Stay in touch on LinkedIn. Yeah, we will drop the links to the different resources we mentioned in the comments here, so that you can find them later. And well, thank you so much, everyone, for attending this live. I hope it created value for you and gave you some new insights, and hopefully helped you to build some confidence to move forward on your dreams.
Yeah, awesome. It was really a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Maya.